Hello and welcome to DownShift, hosted by Lockie, Schwags, Huppy and myself, KT. In this episode, we review the Las Vegas Grand Prix, in which Lando Norris summarised perfectly for McLaren when he said, "I just effed up," although he probably should have replaced I for we. In this episode, we reflect on the flood of water leading into the weekend, a very different qualifying than was expected, and a shocking post-race twist that has put a match to the Drivers' Championship, as it's
lights out,
drop the clutch,
and let's get racing.
Hello and welcome to the Downshift. As I would like to say, sweet surrender for our non-UK listeners. That was a wet reference.
No,
even for our Downshift.
Missed it.
No.
Missed it. Straight through to the keeper.
Yeah, I think one person might have got that.
Next.
No, at least I didn't sing. That's the main thing.
Thank God.
Yeah, you're here all week.
So no, we saw leading into the weekend, as our resident weather guru had told us that there was a little bit of rain coming. Photos and videos.
I might have underestimated that a smidge. Might have been a little bit more than was first predicted. So, but based on the photo that I think you've got there, Christian, there was a small amount of water running through the car park.
There was a light shower. A light shower.
Yeah. But to be fair, though, I mean, the drain took most of it away, so it's fine.
They do have excellent drainage because they do have this problem when they get heavy downpours, but it certainly cleaned the track out. The track looked slippery, looked like an ice rink when they first went out. So
apparently where the water flows as well, it cleaned the homeless people out as well because they stay in the tunnels, but they know when the rain's coming. They actually all get out of there. They absolutely flood through those tunnels and then they all go back inside them again.
They shift back in, yeah.
So flood by design. But no, so it is quite common apparently, and they do see these floods that just disappear. But yeah, Happy, to your point, is the track was nicely clean and we saw a fair bit of wobbling and drifting around the track to start off with before we even got into quali, sorry. But look, before we get started, I'd like to throw it out there. We've got obviously a little bit of commentary going on between our listeners and subscribers. So if we get to the pointy end of the championship, we'd love to hear from our subscribers as to who you think is going to win the championship. So look, throw it into the comments in YouTube, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and why. And we'll share some of that next week as we do our review of the Qatar Grand Prix. But before we get into reviewing the race that has just passed, it's just wanted to note that Oscar Piastri, some big news for Oscar was that he was given the Don Award last week, which was introduced in 1998 by the Sport Australia Hall of Fame to honour current Australian athletes who, through their achievements, have inspired the nation over the last 12 months. And this has been the first time that it has been presented to a motorsport figure.
Yeah.
Which, if I remember correctly, Dan was quite surprised about the other day when we mentioned it to him.
I was surprised. Yeah. Have we got any notable motorsports figures in Australia?
And go, Huppy.
Well, we had one up until the mid-season break, yeah. No, well done, Oscar. He has done a lot. He's been good for the country, and good to see a motorsport figure get the award. Yeah,
normally it's tennis players and swimmers, and so it was fantastic to see. But
this weekend it could have been Travis Head, go Australia. But anyway, we won't get stuck in. We won't get stuck into our pommy listeners about that.
So any complaints, please write those to Nathan at Downshift.
Christian at the Downshift. Yeah.
So we went from flooding in Las Vegas to a red flag in practice for, again, we had the drain covers who were getting a bit loose. Can't believe they're still dealing with this problem that plagued us from the very first race.
I know.
I think that's ridiculous. And they lose time on it too. Like, I think a track issue like that, I know it's hard because they've all worked to a schedule, but a track issue like that should not limit track time. Like, I get if a car crashes or there's a barriers they got to fix up because of an incident, that's outside. But when the track's not prepared properly for a race and the teams lose valuable practice time, I think that's that should be. And it was only 10 or 12 minutes or 10 minutes, maybe even less, that they lost. So they probably could have squeezed in another, a bit more time. Just, don't stop the clock. Let's add on some time at the end of the session.
Well, let's see. If they don't have many other support races there, and I don't think it's a very heavy schedule as far as track use, then why stop the session? Like, yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I think it's embarrassing. In Formula One, they've got no one else to blame. It's their event. Like, they're the ones who promote it. You know, they shut down the strip. They spend tens of millions of dollars on Mickey Mouse and fountain shows at the end of the race and fireworks and whatever, and rock stars and celebrities, but they can't get a drain cover to stay down. Like, it was stupid. Anyway.
Well, it's not the first time they've had issues with drain covers.
No, which is why they need to fix it. Like, they could be pretty deadly if they come loose, but like...
Yeah. And as soon as the race finishes at night, they actually open the strip back up and cars can go up and down it again. So it's not like it's closed completely. So the support races are not heavy and inundated from that point of view. So to have that not corrected is just wrong.
Yep. But yeah, I agree. In a practice session, you shouldn't... It was disappointing to see that everyone lost time, although I guess it does add a bit of pressure for the teams and some variability in car setups for the weekend, and we saw the impact of that in the race as well. We can talk about later. So maybe it did help to make things a bit more exciting later in the weekend.
Well, it was a challenging practice session, let's be honest, for floating down the track.
They were so dusty at the start, there were massive amounts of dust on the track.
Well, incredibly, yeah. It's a very low grip surface anyway, and you're in basically a desert. Like, if you've been to Vegas before, it looks amazing when they show the strip and everything else, but there's not much outside of that. Like, you only need to go 10 Ks out and it's desert and sand and stuff. So yeah, a lot of dust around.
So we went from the practice to quali, which we saw something which we don't normally see in Formula One: wet tyres.
Yeah,
wet tyres.
I had no idea what they were. I don't think I've ever seen them, actually.
I was genuinely shocked to see the wets go on, which was, I just found that fascinating. Like, it normally commentators will say it has to be, the track has to virtually be underwater for the wets to be useful. And when you looked at the cars when they went out, it wasn't pouring down with rain. There wasn't water streaming across the track. It was, I guess, just the right conditions that they needed the wets to maybe get more temperature in because they heat up quicker.
There was enough water sitting on the track still. And they said there were still puddles everywhere that the inters couldn't handle. So therefore the full wets were actually needed to get. And I mean, you watch when they were first going, I can't remember who went out first.
The spray.
It was Norris, wasn't it? Went out first, and he was tiptoeing. He'd put in the car and just go, whoop. Massive corrections.
And he said it's no good for inters. Yeah.
Oh,
no. Cold at night time as well. Like, that track got quite cold in those the practice sessions and quali. So the race temper is a lot warmer, but I think the track temper was down to like 11 or 12 degrees or something like that. But yeah, no grip. And they stayed on those wets for a long time. It wasn't until I think it was the end of Q1 or Q2. Someone went out on inters.
Stroll.
Stroll tried.
Yeah. So
I think that proves that the wets were the right choice.
And if we look at Q1, we had Hamilton, who finished up at 20th, Anton Elliott 17th, and look, I'm going to actually put out a bold prediction here, but I think Alex Albon is actually vying for a spot at Ferrari, because he got onto the radio and said to his team, "We're talking too much." So
unless he wants to be team principal, maybe.
That'd work out well. They could get together and just not talk about anything.
Like a family dinner. Yeah.
That's your...
Someone will be having words later.
Family you're listening, send your complaints to.
My wife doesn't listen. I'm safe as houses. It's fine.
But Happy, to your point, it was Lance Stroll who got onto the inters at the tail end of Q2. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I actually felt sorry for Lance because he was doing really well. And they sent him out just near the tail end of Q2, which didn't give him enough time to warm up the inters. And so everyone who was on the wets was just improving and improving and improving.
Yeah.
One lap short of having them at temperature.
It's interesting they took that sort of gamble, because the Astons up until that point looked pretty quick throughout, quali. They were really on it.
The Astons always look good in the early quali, and
in early practice sessions they're sort of known for running less fuel. And
every race, Alonso. Oh, gee, look at Alonso go! Isn't he fantastic? And then he's like, 9th or 10th. I mean,
they don't have the top end speed to continue with it, but for a short burst,
they just can't maintain it for the whole session.
Well, they can. They'll get a new car next year. They can make the most of the wet weather, which is what they had done up until that point. And Yeah, I mean, who knew that the Aston was going to be competitive on a wet tyre? Like at the start of the season, if someone had said the only times we're going to see the wet tyre this year is going to be in Las Vegas, no one would take that bet. So it's surprising to see some of those guys doing quite well with the wet tyre.
Agreed.
I've said it once and I've said it again. Imagine Fernando Alonso in a car that actually performed.
Well, let's wait till next year, see what happens.
Dangerous. Yeah.
Well, let's see if Christian Horner gets the gig at Aston Martin.
With the decent team principle.
Don't jump over the run sheet.
More news to
Don't
come.
jump over the run sheet.
Yeah, more news to come. So,
moving to
but no, we saw Q3, which ended up with Norris on pole, followed by Max, Sainz, Russell, and Piastri. But then, as we got into the race, why don't we jump into there? It started off as a clear, chilly night, 50 laps over a 6.2 kilometre track. We saw Norris that led off the line, but very aggressive move on Max before turn one.
Well, we were watching that with
cut
you,
right
Christian.
across, didn't he?
Yeah.
He dived really hard into that corner. Even Dan and I went, "Whoa, that's
It was an aggressive block, which is fine.
Interestingly, the onboards from Norris, it didn't look that bad on his onboards, but yeah, from the aerial, it was there.
It was sharp.
He wanted to protect the inside no matter what. I'm presuming that was his game plan off the start. But on that, tight on the inside there, you saw the sort of dust and debris that came up when he started braking that braking zone. He was never going to make that corner.
Well, to be fair, he wasn't the only one that didn't make that corner.
No.
Lando didn't exactly take it very well either.
Sorry, I don't know why I just didn't do a max and just go wide on the corner and just cut the corner and keep going. Stay in front. No one cares.
Well, I think he was trying to pull it up, wasn't he? And then
Too soon.
Well, tried to. He ran so wide.
He was out of sorts.
Ridiculous.
You could see but he lost a position also to George too, didn't he? George came up.
Yeah. Yep.
Jumped in front on it.
Yeah, George did a good job to do that. And then we saw, was it the 10-pin bowling effort from
Gabby?
Punchy? Oh, no.
Right. No, not Punchy. No, Punchy behaved himself.
Punchy hit Piastri.
They showed the onboard.
Piastri, though.
The onboard of him smashing into cars. There was no way he was going to make that corner. It was a big error. And
to be fair, though, he actually owned it, and he said, "Stroll, that was 100% my fault. I do apologise for that." And Stroll said, "Look, he goes, we're all coming down there." He goes, "It's a racing incident." He goes, "I don't hold personal against him." But obviously, it took them both out after that first corner. They were.
It wasn't a light tap. He properly ploughed into those
so
cars.
You reckon he'll still get a Christmas card from Stroll though?
Yeah.
I don't reckon anyone's getting a Christmas card from Stroll.
Maybe no candy came with it this year, just a card.
But look, it was a steady procession and with a strategic one stop from mediums to hards, and we saw a number of the drivers who jumped in early with the safety car to jump in on a tyre change, and then carrying those through. And I mean, we had Pierre Gasly who actually went through he only did 2 laps on the mediums and then did the rest completely on one set of hards.
I don't think there was a degradation that everyone was predicting. So, that worked in the favour of people like Antonelli, for example, as well.
Yeah, reasonable race, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was reasonable.
For me, and look, I've worn this in honour of Kimi because I'm giving driver of the day to Kimi.
Oh, well, why wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't be wearing a McLaren top today, would you?
They were there.
Wait. Oh, wait. Sorry. No.
In their right mind. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Wait. There's always one.
But Kimi Antonelli, who started from P17 and went all the way up to P5, in the actual race, just a great performance from him. And so from that regards, doing 12 overtakes through the entire race, where I think what we were saying 77 overtakes in total. So an amazing performance for a recovery from him.
Great job.
Good race for him.
Again, very frustrating for Piastri at the end when he couldn't overtake Antonelli, even with way fresher tyres. So another race, like you said, only 77 overtakes. The previous years were well over 100. I think the first year was like 180 or something. It was a phenomenal amount of overtaking. But, again, another reason why I'm glad to see the end of this series of regulations. All the cars are too close and it's getting too hard to overtake. So But well done to Antonelli, who drove really well.
So before we get into the controversy of the race, we saw the race finish up with Max Verstappen in P1, followed by Lando Norris, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz. But then the FIA stepped in, and we saw
step in. They just did their job.
Well, to be fair, kind of justified given the fact that it happened previously in the season to Ferrari.
It wasn't a witch hunt. Let's not go there.
If you're going to talk about
hats on.
Who stepped in it, McLaren stepped in it, though.
And then brought it in and wiped it on the carpet.
That's it. All over the walls. Yeah, it was a horrible scene. And they knew it was going to be an issue, but it's a major faux pas. That's a big error.
Yeah.
It's really Ferrari-esque, isn't it? Too soon? Oh, sorry.
I think Max had such a
What's
terrible
the ultimate insult in
Hold on to that thought. It may come back to haunt you next year. We'll see.
Well, let's hope so.
It's a massive, massive moment in the championship because we all know that they run with such fine margins and, to have your plank wear low by 0.1x of a millimetre is a tiny amount, but that's what Formula One's all about. So the fact that this has happened and they've given Max maximum points and their drivers 0 points with 2 rounds to go is a major thing. If it turns out at the end of the year that Max wins the championship because of this result, there will be some very angry McLaren fans.
Can I just ask a rookie question? Now that McLaren have won the Constructors' Championship, do they just not give a shit about the drivers anymore?
That's correct.
Drivers or?
Well, the Drivers' Championship, I mean, not the drivers as such. I'm sure they're still providing sandwiches for them.
But this is where they can say free to race because, again, regardless of what the outcome is, to your point,
free to race because you're not going to get any points anyway because you're going to get disqualified. So go at it.
Win it or bin it.
Oh, look, they care, obviously. There's some big bonuses, I'm sure, in the contracts for their drivers if they win a title. So if McLaren doesn't have to pay out a $10 million bonus to someone for winning the championship, they might be happy. But
you thought I needed a tinfoil hat.
They definitely want the press from this, and they want one of their guys to win. So no,
Dan, we need to ask what's on the inside of your McLaren hat. Is it full of tin foil or?
No, so it was just an error and a mistake from their team, I think.
Right. Okay.
So for our viewers, if anyone has been living under a rock, but I'm sure everyone's across it, we're putting a graphic up here. We're talking about the skid plank, which is underneath the car. So underneath the Formula One cars, there is a wooden plank, which is held on by titanium plates. And you'll see that goes right up the center of the car. And the rule is it starts at 10 millimeters. It can't go below 9 millimeters. And the FIA will go with a micrometer and actually measure that thickness of the titanium plate. And you'll see there essentially where those measurements were taken. You can see Lando's on the left, Oscar's on the right. Now, I don't know if these are the exact pictures of their planks, but it goes to show where the measurements were taken. And you'll see that the most wear was at 8.74 on Oscar's car on the right-hand side there. The FIA actually recorded that there was a observation that the plank wear was roughly about 9 millimeters, and so therefore cited that for further investigation to be able to go and do that. With that further investigation, they found that the plank wear was under 9 millimeters and disqualified both cars.
Yeah, fine. Based on the letter that came out from McLaren, Christian, can you spell micrometer? Because they can't. They actually spelled it incorrectly in the letter.
Micrometer.
Apparently not, because they could not spell it correctly in the letter. The official letter that came out was incorrect spelling.
It's probably been translated from
details.
What language do they natively do it in?
Well, from English to American.
English.
That's
no. I thought some of those documents were coming out in I don't know whether it was French or something else originally that they came out. Anyway, my bad. Could be wrong. No. My real question is: the planks on the bottom of the car, is their function to protect the cars, or is their function to be a measurement device for the ride heights and the legitimacy of the cars through a race?
Good question. I think it's mostly the ride height issue because the reason the teams run these down and they know they wear the plank during the race, the lower you can run these cars and these regulations, the more downforce you get. So they will always run them as low as possible, which is why you see the when the titanium blocks hit the circuit, you see those sparks fly up. So they will always run them low. They found, I think Ferrari got done for this earlier in the year. They ran too low, but they did that because they need performance. So you can alter the way you drive to protect the car, and we can talk about like some of the McLaren radio communications during the race, like lifting and coasting at certain corners and whatever, but it's there to prevent the cars from running too low. I think that's the main purpose.
Well, there was a point where Piastri was going down, I think, the main straight, and he was overtaking, and I could be wrong, I can't remember who was overtaking, but when he was overtaking, it looked like his car was on fire. There was that many sparks coming out from underneath it, and you're like, that seems to be an awful lot for one single overtake going down that straight. That was obviously the margin they had. It was 0.1, 0.2 wrong in their setup, because he had almost a fire coming out from the back of his car.
I think I did read that there was talk about the planks and that why there wasn't a grey area in the planks. Like basically it's yay or nay. Like it's either limit or not limit. But I think the comment was that the reason for the quite specific measurements is that if they run it too low and something goes wrong, that can be dangerous for the car to then have lost its aero or its grip or whatever. That's why it's important for it to be, running at a certain ride height.
Have some ride height, and that it's worth noting that the team that they probably knew early on that it was going to be an issue, not because they have sensors that measure the height or the depth of that skid block, but they have temperature sensors, so they know when that car is hitting the skid block and generating heat. So they'd probably have the data to know that, we are generating some heat and we're hitting this skid block too much. You're going to have to do something to mitigate that and try and make sure we don't wear it too much during the race. So, they're talking very fine measurements, and it's something at the bottom of the car hitting the road. So it's going to be very hard to measure it accurately as far as depth, but from a heat measurement, I guess they've got enough data to know that they're potentially going to run into trouble.
But to your point, Dan, these cars are the most expensive vacuums in the world. The fins that are underneath create that Venturi effect, which sucks them down. And again, if you hit that, it's a carbon fiber that will break off and will affect, and to your point around safety, that downforce effect on the vehicle. So it will cause a safety issue in regards to losing that downforce. And so, a dual purpose in that regards.
There was an onboard shot with a camera behind Oscar, so you could see his helmet in the car down one of the straights. And when he came onto the straight, I noticed his head was really bobbing. So I think their car had quite a lot of porpoising. And when it does that, it will hit the track and bounce off it and cause some excess wear as well.
That was just Jay-Z in his headphones.
Jay-Z, Beyonce, who else was there?
And Christian, obviously you haven't bought the latest Dyson, because I think they're fairly comparable price-wise to the car versus the Dyson. So,
I think Dyson is doing a partnership with McLaren next year.
God, they'll get more expensive.
And look, and I think you remember on Friday I sent a note to our WhatsApp group. It actually looked like the McLarens were running low. It visibly looked quite close to the ground, but no.
I agree. Like Andre Stella should subscribe to our podcast for some expert analysis on his car's ride height so that he can avoid future incidents like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get Christian to flick him an email after we finish tonight.
So, but Andrea finished up with saying we apologise to Lando and Oscar for the loss of points today at a critical time in their championship campaigns after two strong performances from them all weekend. As a team, we also apologise to our partners and fans whose support means so much. While this outcome is extremely disappointing, we remain fully focused on the last two races of the season.
Yeah, and when he says critical time in their championship, it really is, because Las Vegas, of these last three rounds, this was their weakest track, and they knew it. And like we knew going into this, it was probably going to be Max, it was going to be Mercedes, who'd be stronger. Ferrari should have been okay, and we saw from Leclerc's pace that they were pretty good. So for them to lose those two, decent point scoring positions is a massive blow.
Before we get into the Drivers' Championship, there is one other battle which has heated up over the weekend, and that is the midfield battle. Seemingly out of nowhere over the last few races, Haas has just taken off.
Come on, strong.
So we've seen Haas overtake Kick Sauber and now Aston Martin in the midfield battles. there are rumours abounds in regards to Andy Cowell, who is the team principal and CEO of Aston Martin, whose head is now on the chopping block. Lockie, I think you were saying...
Not for long.
I think he's been let go, hasn't he, after the weekend?
That's my understanding. He's already been given the flick.
Mm. And rumours are that the considerations are, one, Mr.
Wow.
Christian Horner.
That's the scuttlebutt that I've heard recently is he's sort of front and centre in talks at the moment.
I think AI's already dressed him up in a green shirt.
It's not such a silly move. I mean, he's in the neighbourhood. He's a very successful TP. He's you look what he's done with Red Bull over the last 20 years. Aston Martin are looking for a resurgence come 2026 with all the money that they've put into it, a new partnership with Honda, all the work
He
in the
knows
wind
the
tunnel.
designer there as well, so that might work for him.
He's got a very, very impressive CV. His WhatsApp chat's not so great to look at, but apparently his work CV is excellent.
Well, it depends on which side of the fence you sit, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, look, yeah, he'd be an awesome person to hire into that role for that team. You can't deny that. Like, it would be really good for them.
If he goes into that role, then does Stroll have 1, 2, or 3 races left before he kicks him out? How's that going to work?
Well, it'd be interesting to see how much sway he would have. Like, I don't know. We've heard in the past that if he wanted to go to a team, he'd want some sort of equity or control in the business. Whether that would happen at Aston or not, who knows? But I'm sure that would be a consideration of his. Like, he'd want to be able to make decisions in that team. Otherwise, how do you operate it to get it to the top?
Well, you've seen Lawrence, who was actually handing out shares in the business. I mean, Adrian Newey got a share in the business to join the team. So it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that Christian would actually get part ownership in the team. You're right. He'd have to have a level of control and say, I'm going to do it my way. What protection there is around Lance is always a question mark, because it's always been that comment around the paddock that he has an open contract to as long as he wants to race. But in the end, the team has to perform.
No, and you've got
and make room for Max,
an older driver there who's going to retire soon, you would think. So you've got to make room for someone new, and who's sitting in the wings.
Well, when Alonso retire, he's in the prime of his career.
Oh, well,
He one of the rookies.
Give him a competitive car that he feels like he can challenge with, and I think he'd want to stay on for a while longer. Yeah.
Well, you got Dylan. Dylan can come in.
Well, look, I think this is where Alonso, in a competitive car, put him in next year if it's doing well. He wants to be a challenger again, and coming into next year, I was having this conversation with my son, and there's probably about 8 to 9 challenges for a championship next year based on the quality of drivers that we've got there.
It'll all come down to who can get their car right and running.
We do have a drivers' championship on the horizon. We've got only 2 races and 1 sprint to go at this point in time. Come the end of Vegas, we now have Lando Norris, who leads the championship by 24 points, with second tied now between Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen.
Yep.
It's getting tight.
All bets are off now.
Max is going to win it. I've said that weeks ago.
So, Dan, you putting Piastri's name back in the hat now, or he's out now? That's it.
No.
Done.
He's on the floor.
I just can't believe Max has managed to perform in that car the way he has. Yuki's failed to deliver the whole season, and at the mid-season break, you wouldn't have placed the bet that Max would be challenging for the title. It just would not have been on the cards.
No.
It's really a pretty amazing sort of turnaround, in events. Really surprising.
Well, you look at that. Look at the climb on that line from that graph, from basically Belgium, Hungary.
Yep.
Consistent. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, just absolutely. They've found something with the car and the setup that's obviously working for Max, and you can tell when it happened, and away they go. And McLaren's been under more pressure, and Oscar's struggled a bit. So that's the thing. If shoulda, coulda, woulda. If Oscar hadn't had these sorts of issues with car setup and being comfortable in the car post that mid-season break, I think we'd see a completely different graph. It'd be his victory for sure. But
perhaps not run into walls.
And there's a few other things too. But
that'll stop a car, apparently.
It's apparently not how you win races. It's just so I've heard.
Like, surely Max, after that race, he's obviously doing the best he can. All he can do is try and win every race. But to be then told your two rivals ahead of you have been disqualified with 2 rounds to go, and now the gap is less than 1 race win to victory. Oh my God, you're getting handed gifts on a plate. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't that one of the charts that you made, Christian, where you go, this is what Max has to do, and one of them's like a double DNF from McLaren?
There you go.
And we laughed and we laughed and we laughed.
Ye of little faith. So the extrapolation of this chart here, you'll see this is Lando Norris's championship to lose now. You'll see that Lando will win the championship by 9 points. Now, look, there are so many different permutations and considerations in regards to this. I've taken the Oscar Max out, and I've just put 2 lines here. So I've got the orange line, which is Lando Norris. I've got the red line, which is you say the name, and we'll say that's them. But essentially, with Norris, based on the historical performance, would win by 9 points. And this is where if he came second and there's a perfect race by Max or Oscar, for Lando to lose this, Max or Oscar have to have perfect races, and he would have to come 6th in one of those races, and he would lose by 1 point. If he had a DNF, he would then lose by 9 points. If he lost the sprint, he still wins. So it doesn't matter.
So he's really got to have just clean, solid races. He doesn't even have to finish first or anything. Like he's just got to not crash, get the job done.
Yeah. And look, I mean, that's the thing is, to that point is, if I was Lando, let him go. Let him just battle it out in front of me. If I take third, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, and the next 2 rounds are McLaren tracks. They should be competitive at that track. They should be top 2, top 3. So, yeah, Lando's title to lose.
Indeed.
Didn't think I'd be saying that halfway through the season. No.
We're not halfway through the season.
So are we going to gloss over the fact that at the end of the race they went back to the Bellagio in an absolute classic Cadillac, by the way, great car, well designed.
With Terry Crews driving, an absolute legend.
Terry Crews driving, that was great. I enjoyed that. But then they pulled out the front of the Bellagio, and we had to watch some presumptuous pre-tape recorded piece of
the
garbage
Mickey Mouse
thing. And the next day, people are watching on YouTube, going, "Hold on a second. Here's the TV. I'm staying in here. There is no water fountain display. It was pre-recorded." Honestly, what the hell? Like, I don't need to sit there and watch that garbage.
Only in
the
Vegas.
Kids are in bed at that hour. Move on. Like, do a Mickey Mouse special later on. I don't need that.
And again,
it was pretty
if
Donald
Mickey
Duck.
waved his hands this way instead of that way, who cares?
Oh.
Yep. Sponsorship and revenue. This is what is important to Formula One at the moment. So this is why Mickey Mouse was conducting a fountain.
Oh.
I still don't get the collab, though, between Disney and F1. Obviously, something's got to be coming out of that for next year, but I get that. Liberty Media will sell their soul to anyone.
That's how you understand the collaboration. Lots of money was involved.
Who
Makes
paid for the
perfect
movie?
sense.
Like who brought the movie out? The F1 movie?
Apple.
It was an Apple one, was it? Okay.
Yeah, they might have, F1 live on Disney in the near future. We don't know.
But even more so, and again, a little ears warning, but from the fact that Lando Norris got up there with DC and Sam Worthington and dropped the F-bomb quite comfortably on the interview.
That was
goes
atrocious.
The cocky nature of Lando that he's just gone, yeah, I can say what I want.
Strip him of his race points, I reckon.
I reckon if I was Mohammed Ben Salem, if I was Mohammed Ben Salem, I'd actually say we're going to take a certain number of points off you, make it even between all 3 drivers, and then it's hell for leather for the next 2 race series.
Yeah. And the odds of that happening? 0.
Yep.
I challenge you, Mohammed.
Oh, you better flick him an email to get him subscribed first.
Make it so.
Anyway, speaking of people leading championships, what are we about to talk about?
That's the worst tie-in ever. Worst tie-in ever.
Well, look, yes, begrudgingly, we go to the Downshift Prediction Championship. So, Happy, to your point.
Oh, what a surprise. Look at that. I hadn't checked it at all. I hadn't checked it.
So with that, Happy and Lockie, you both took 5 points from the weekend, putting Max in first and George in second. My bold prediction of Kimi taking out first place didn't happen. Now, look, had he not got P17, but
had Oscar won, we would have all been happier. So, you know,
yeah,
keep
that's
going.
exactly
Shoulda,
right.
coulda, woulda.
Yeah, but no, Hobie, you're comfortably in the lead with 5 points over Lockie now, 6 points over myself, and Schwag's at 23.
Now, can I just say, I actually got out the supercomputer this afternoon. I ran the numbers, and based on those numbers, Dan, there's no mathematical way you can win on the last 2 rounds to go. I've run the numbers. Like
you could have done that on a Casio, mate. You didn't need a supercomputer.
I wanted to make sure I had all the figures in there to get it right, but it came up negative.
Did you carry the one?
I carried 8, and it still didn't help you.
Carried the one.
It's still on. It's still on for the three of us though. So anything can happen in the last 2 rounds.
Anything can happen. So, look, from Craps from Vegas, our next episode, we swap from one desert to another as the F1 heads to the Middle East for the final 2 rounds of the 2025 Formula One season, where someone will be crowned world champion.
Yep. Hopefully not Max again. I'm hoping for McLaren, but we will see.
No, come on, Max. Just wipe it.
No, he'd be all right. He would be a deserving winner, actually, the way he's driven this season. So
now you're changing your tone.
Well, he would. He would.
Go, Oscar. Go,
I'd just like to see Oscar
Max
win.
would be a deserving winner, you know.
Yeah, wear his Red Bull hat at the next episode.
And change his banner in the background, yep.
So with that, 2 episodes this week. Tune in Thursday for our preview of the Qatar Grand Prix. Until then, it's thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next lap.